Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Zelda Universe Podcast. We're grateful to have you all join us as we reminisce about our many adventures and experiences in the land of Hyrule and beyond. Welcome to March. As of recording, we are sitting on Mario Day, which is kind of cool. So, happy Mario Day to the two of you, which has nothing to do with Zelda.
That's true. Yeah, it's kind of the yin to the yang, of a Nintendo series. But you know, it's hard to spell out Zelda in a month name. We don't have any months that start with Z.
That's true.
So Mario gets it this time, I guess, which is unfortunate.
Is that why he gets all of the anniversary hype and whatnot, and Zelda doesn't? Because there's just easier naming conventions?
Don't do this. Please don't do this.
Zach, Jeff, it is wonderful to have both of you here. And we're going to start today with Medli's Melodies, the series in which we choose some of our favorite songs for the Legend of Zelda franchise and highlight a special piece of music. And we're starting today in Skyward Sword. And something that is very fitting for the month in which this article came out, February. It's one of those times where I think, man, if we were really good and really fast, we can have a whole Valentine's thing during Valentine's. But actually, for the most part, despite what many in all kinds of fandoms would want to say, we don't get a whole lot of overt romance in Zelda. All that much.
No. Which is fine, I guess. But at the same time, you know, it allows you to more put your own feelings and emotions into these relationships that you see on screen. But to be honest, the biggest quote-unquote ship for me with them is the one in Skyward Sword. They've just got this natural chemistry to them, and they're both just adorable in it as well. Yeah, I'm just a huge fan of Skyward Sword to begin with, and then that relationship in and of itself is, I think, just a really key part to that story.
I think that makes three of us that are big fans of Skyward Sword here, so this is a good trio.
Yes, you two have excellent taste.
Oh.
And yes, the romantic undertones pretty much happen as soon as Link wakes up and reads Zelda's letter. It's just there from the beginning. And honestly, pretty sure Skyward Sword is the sole exception of any real romantic connection. As much as people can assert otherwise, this is the only time where we know it is canon in-game. They are a thing.
Yeah.
Closest ones I can think besides that are Minish Cap.
Yeah.
Because Link and Zelda have a relationship at the beginning. They're already childhood friends. And then you can make a strong argument in Tears of the Kingdom. Because Zelda is literally living in Link's house.
Right. But, you know, he's dragging his feet when it comes to commitment.
Oh, gosh. There's a whole set, if you could expand the story in Tears of the Kingdom, that I would expand that and explore their... Everyone, I'm certain it's one of those situations where everyone else knows, but they don't.
Right.
And then over the course of the game, they finally realize it independently at the end.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's I like those kind of romance stories, like where we all know. I think of like Don Da Don and other shows like that, where like these two have such a strong connection, but they're just like, they both like each other, but they're not going to say anything about it. And then, you know, they're kind of forced together by circumstance. And the music that will it highlighted through this, it's just, I mean, overall the music in Skyward Sword, it's just incredible. It's one of the best soundtracks in the series. Not as good as Spirit Tracks, but we're not here to talk about that right now. I will say it's really great to have Will on the staff because he's like a music guy. So like reading through the article here, there are a lot of things I'm like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's using like words like meter. He's talking about different kinds of drums here. Like this guy knows. He knows. Led some gravitas to the article.
Well, let's ask that to the two of you. How much music experience do the both of you have?
I have very little, so yeah, I definitely appreciate reading an article like Will's as well because he knows the mechanical aspects of music. He can explain, how the craft comes together, whereas I don't know the finer elements of it.
Right.
So I learn a lot just reading an article like that.
It's really funny when I have Caden on here. Caden is a music teacher, and I have been waiting and hoping that I'll finally have him on again when there's a Medli's Melodies to talk shop in that kind of way. And I do pay attention in a lot of ways to this kind of stuff and learning in YouTube videos and whatnot about how you want to transmit emotion into a piece. How is it that you do that? Part of it is the culture in which we grow up in. We associate certain things with other things subconsciously or culturally or otherwise. And understanding this is how this instrument feels. This is how this rhythm provides a kind of context for this thing that we are trying to do. You are building a story in the music. And so if you look at the three pieces that are here, particularly the first and second one, you see how the two of them sound very, very similar to each other, but they are different. And the reason for those differences are because these are two separate moments, but are connected in a very significant way. And then that coalesces and becomes Gliding Through the Sky at the very end, which is the most romantic of the three of them, because it's almost like a fulfillment of everything that was built up before in this very romantic undertone of, you are going to win, Link, and now that you've won, you want to maybe go on a date?
Yeah, that's in being able to portray that all just through music as well. And I mean, music is so important to the franchise just in general, but especially when you have such a romance-centric story with Link and Zelda, in Skyward Sword specifically, being able to, I mean, this was what, 25th anniversary, so it was like a big deal, right? And one of the big things is the romance between these two characters. So being able to actually like put everything into it to underscore this culmination of romance for the past 25 years, and I think it's done really well. The music's beautiful. It's I mean, it's all a great soundtrack, but Triforce, if you will, of music here is a pretty solid way to hear that romance apart from what you're seeing on screen. Like you can hear it while you're listening, not even without the context.
For me, it's a little funny to think back because I remember when Skyward Sword first came out, in like the first few weeks or months of the game, there was a lot of discussion about it that like some fans said that the music wasn't as catchy as the other games. It wasn't as memorable. And a lot of that is because the music is so much more complex than the older games being the first fully orchestrated. So the music and the composition itself is a lot more in depth than the ones from, say, Ocarina of Time, the N64 games, or Majora's Mask. And now, all these years later, I feel like the music is then the soundtrack of that game is starting to be a little bit more appreciated by the fan base.
When you have that complexity, I alluded to this a little bit earlier, you can start to do things within the context of the music that goes beyond just, here is a dramatic scene, we want dramatic music. you can begin to tell stories and tell the story in the music itself. If you look at the tracks, it's not just Love is in the Air, this version, second version, whatever. There are titles, like you have the 3 titles listed for these pieces here. If you look at Groose has at least half a dozen or more individual tracks that utilize his theme in different ways, depending on the situation at hand, because you see Groose being his pompous self. You see Groose getting all la 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 because he's thinking about getting himself with Zelda. You think about, and that theme is actually backed up a little more. It's more what is defined as a leitmotif. It is a specific thing of music that identifies Groose. So then later on, and Groose is interrupting you as you're coming down to the surface, he's going all crazy, you suddenly hear the Groose thing, and you don't even need to see Groose colliding into you to be like, oh, nope, Groose is here. I see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff that comes up when you have these associations over and over again. You suddenly don't even need the visual representations to tell you what is going on. This is how you get full-on symphonies that people can just sit down and listen to, because all of the movements and all of the things are specifically telling a story that is for your ears only.
It's art, but there's a science to it, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing I wanted to talk about real quick. This kicks off the adventure. Specifically, the end of this trilogy. They're having a wonderful date, and then suddenly everything goes astray. Disaster strikes. And it made me think about the reasons for adventure. Because for the most part, Link doesn't get a whole lot of different ways to set him out on this journey. In fact, most of the time, it's kind of, well, I'm here, so why not?
Right. He's thrust into it, you know, in most of the time in his pajamas, let's be honest, you know. But this one, it feels like he has a much stronger impetus for going on his adventure. To me, this one doesn't feel like he's the chosen one, chosen to do this, and that's the reason he's doing it. He's doing it because he has a stake in it as well. You know, like, hey, that's my lady. I'm gonna go save that lady. But, you know, a lot of other times it's just like, hey man, I'm talking to you in your brain telepathically. You gotta get out of bed. Like, you just have to wake up, man. Like, there's some crazy stuff going on. And then he just wakes up and goes and does it. I think that's one of the lesser appreciated parts of Skyward Sword, is that it does feel a lot more personal. Same with Wind Waker. Especially the first half of Wind Waker. You know, you really feel that strong connection. Talk about another banging soundtrack, by the way. He's going to save his sister. You know, what's more personal than that? It's a great way to start off the journey, you know, and he's choosing to do this as opposed to it being him being told to do it.
I am a avid Dungeons and Dragons fan, and so I have made a whole bunch of different characters, and with any good character, you need a reason for that adventurer to begin adventuring. Because anybody who's having a super comfortable life isn't going to have any reason to throw that aside and go risking their lives for gold and whatever. And so I listed out all of the different motivations, or at least initial motivations, that I had given my characters for leaving their homes. Spirited Away is it's basically the prototypical Link situation. You get thrown in this situation and, well, here I am. I got to do something. There's a quest for redemption. There's a drive for independence, trying to learn something. Sometimes you are called on a holy mission, a divine mandate of some kind. Often there is a wanting to prove something either to yourself or to the world. Interestingly, I have not had any romantic characters, or at least people that were set out because of romance. And it's interesting that Link doesn't have too many varied motivations, which I suppose is kind of the point of the game, is not to have that. It is to go and explore and discover. But having different motivations gives you, I think you mentioned it earlier, just a more vested interest for the character and for you to have in this situation. What's fascinating to me in particular about Skyward Sword is that it starts with love. I need to go find this person that I love and care about so much. It evolves to include this worldwide threat from Demise, and yet Zelda is still the through line through all of it. Yes, it's really important that I save the world, but first and foremost, she's waiting for me. And that provides such a stronger emotional set of stakes, which is also a lot more relatable. Well, thank you very much to Will Nelson for bringing us this piece from Medli's Melodies. And we're going to move on to the Bomber's Notebook, a series in which we take a special look at the various and unique characters found in the Legend of Zelda series. And for today, we are heading over to Twilight Princess, and a character that is important, prominent even, and yet at the same time, I don't really think about him all that much. When you are first exploring Hyrule Castle Town as a wolf in the middle of Twilight, you enter Telma's bar. There's Ilya. Oh my gosh, there she is. But her attention, obviously she can't see you, but her attention is focused squarely on a young Zora man, a youth. And so we are introduced to Prince Ralis. And like I said, I don't think about him all that much. I guess because Queen Rutella takes center stage pretty quickly when it comes to the whole Zora threat. And also, Ralis spends the first half of the game completely unconscious.
I'll be honest. I played Twilight Princess once, like very quickly, right at the end of college, my freshman year of college, and I did not remember him at all. So it was exciting to learn about a new character to me. But that's one thing I love about Bomber's Notebook, though. Just in general, I love reading these articles just because there's so many random characters that that you learn about. Like early or in January, Hoiger Haugendin Dugan. Like that's nuts. Like I just love that we pull these characters that completely out of obscurity, and we learn all sorts of things about them. I love it. It's good stuff. But as far as Prince Ralis goes, you two have the floor. I will abstain from talking here.
No, I always like the character. Obviously he has a tremendously tragic backstory, but that really fits with the whole theme of Twilight Princess, and not just the melancholic nature of Twilight Princess, particularly that, like, in Twilight Princess, Hyrule is already in a state of decline long before the adventure begins. There are so many signs that the kingdom is kind of just wasting away even before Link leaves Orden. And then just another example of that is something tragic happening to Zora's domain gets frozen over, but then also Queen Rutella is murdered. So Ralis loses his mother, the Zora lose their matriarch, and then Ralis takes it upon himself to try and go seek help all by himself, travels out into the very middle of Hyrule Field, and eventually collapses, really, really displaying how many corners of Hyrule were affected by the overall conflict long before Link and the player even set their eyes upon it themselves.
It's always funny to me when people, I can think of one of my best friends in particular. He really wants Zelda to be darker for the next game or a future game or whatever. People are talking about how much they want a Majora's Mask or Twilight Princess kind of situation. And it's made me think about what makes a game dark. What would fit the themes of Zelda and yet be darker? Because it's not necessarily the case to just, tone down the color palette and say, okay, we have a darker game. There's particular themes and a particular setting that is required in order to make a game darker. And I think my conclusion at that is you want a game or a setting in which there are meaningful and tragic consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Majora's Mask, the moon is falling. People are literally coming to grips with the fact that the end is nigh. In Twilight Princess, there is a literal invasion. Not only that, Hyrule has lost that literal invasion, and people are dying. Ralis and the Zora are Exhibit A of that. It's one of the few times, really, where we actually see this has consequences, and people are suffering because of what has happened. It's a lot stronger than just saying everybody is fearful for their lives. You actually start to see that, and that creates a stronger impact.
Seeing the stakes, like that's truly what drives good storytelling, is being able to see what's at stake, what are the consequences to our actions. And from what I remember this was like 10 years ago. Nope.
You have the floor again, sir. Like thank you.
20 years ago. But it was Twilight Princess did that really well, where, it felt bleak, but not like bleak, but not dour. Does that make sense?
I've always said that Twilight Princess is not dark, it's somber. That's the tone of the game.
Yes.
Dark is far too simplistic a term to describe its atmosphere. It's a somber, dismal, bleak atmosphere in Hyrule.
I think you said melancholy earlier.
Yes.
And I think that's the perfect tone for that. When you say toning down the color palette, like, I think that's one of the few times where the brown color palette works very well, as opposed to brown color palette of FPS games of the generation as well. But like that actually works to where it's like, oh, things just aren't great. The overall tone, the atmosphere, and then these stories, these, the characters, that so much is revealed through side characters, through like minor, not even NPCs, but like minor characters. In this case, like, I would say Prince Ralis, that's a minor character. Like, their actions, what they do, kind of informs the world at large in how the people see what's going on. That's such a good way to convey tone, to convey atmosphere, outside of just being like, man, this all sucks. It's like, I'm trying to help my mother who's in this situation because I feel like that's the only option is that I'm the only one left to do this. And maybe it's just the old softy in me. It's anything to do with kids. It's like, well, obviously things are bad if the kid's dealing with it.
We did see all those kids suffering in Kakariko.
Yes, I do remember that.
Speaking of Kakariko, does anybody else find it a little contrived that the Zora's graves are in Kakariko?
No, and that's actually one of my favorite things about Kakariko and Twilight Princess.
Really?
I actually think it's one of the very best versions of the village. I wrote an entire article about it years ago, which I would encourage everybody to read. It's called Twilight Princess Kakariko Village is the best Kakariko village.
I wonder what that article.
Straightforward. I
love
it.
aside from the small plug there, what you see in Twilight Princess is that there's, especially in Kakariko, there is a very evident connection between all of the different races and people of Hyrule, and for whatever reason or another, Kakariko is the nexus. You see the Zora have their grave there. You see the Gorons and their deep connection to the people of Kakariko. You eventually learn that Mayor Bo of Orden and Renato have a long-lasting friendship. We eventually see that the Oka and the City in the Sky remnants or relics are buried at the bottom of Kakariko Village.
Oh, yeah.
Minda obviously has a role there just throughout the story of Twilight Princess. So at some point or another in Twilight Princess's version of Hyrule, every single race convenes upon Kakariko Village at some point or another, which is one of the very, very rare times you see that in any Zelda game. But Kakariko, more so than Hyrule Castle Town, which is kind of vain and shallow and just fake, Kakariko Village and Twilight Princess is the true heart of Hyrule.
It's a very interesting perspective. That's really cool.
But also, yeah, go read my article. It's a very insightful piece, I assure you.
Just that summary is pretty insightful as well.
Yeah.
That is not a way I had thought about it.
The analogy I made always is that have you ever seen The Last Crusade, Indiana Jones?
Of course.
Kakariko Village in Twilight Princess is like the true Holy Grail, that dusty, well-worn chalice, whereas Hyrule Castle Town is that fake chalice that Walter Donovan drinks from and ultimately suffers a horrible demise. Because it's fake, even though it's very pretty and alluring.
So I work in neighborhood organizing. That's my current day job. And the strength of any settlement, any city, regardless of the size, is in the connections that the people who reside there make with each other. That is what's going to help safeguard you against bad things from happening, and it's also going to help you recover when those bad things do eventually happen, because they will happen to all of us regardless. And you make a very solid point that Kakariko has those ties. They are together. They have hiccups at the very beginning, which is mostly Twilight caused, but everyone's there. They're all interested and invested in supporting each other and keeping things running, while Hyrule Castle is a ton of people, but most of them, as Telma puts it, are basically just cowards in fear. They've lost their spark.
I believe it's Ashe that says, I thought Hyrule was empty of men of valor, I think is the quote she says.
Ashe did say that. I know Telma says something to the same point,
right,
when after you've gotten Ralis to Kakariko, and she's kind of reminiscing on the thing when she's like, hey, come to the bar. I got people.
Kakariko, it's the base of operations in Twilight Princess. It's the settlement you constantly return to, and where all of the heroes who are assisting Link gather to plot out their next move.
It's very true. And where you help Ralis remember, hey, the world may be falling apart, but you can fish, man.
It's the same advice I gave my dad. You know.
I mean, seriously, that is what gets Ralis back on his feet. Oh, yeah, I know about rigfish. I know that they like to eat this coral, so here, have a thing. All right, I feel better now. I'm going to go back to my people now.
We all got to have something, you know.
It's true.
It's, some people, they save the world. They, destroy a world-ending calamity. But some people just like to fish, you know? I think that's something we can all take away.
As someone who cannot fish, like, at all, I understand this.
Right. You know what they say, though. Teach a man to fish. He knows how to fish.
I mean, that's true. Except I was taught how to fish, and I could not fish. So I guess I'm screwed when it comes to catching reekfish. Well, thank you very much, Caitlin Druitt, for opening this page of the Bomber's Notebook. And we're going to move on to, oh, look, Zach.
I did this one.
You done did a thing.
I done did a thing.
Indeed. As we open up Tingle's Maps, the series in which we explore the endless lands of Hyrule in search of our favorite places in The Legend of Zelda. And today, we are headed to the Minish Cap.
I'm the resident number one fan of the Minish Cap, I think, at this point. It's one of my favorite games. I played it a lot when I was growing up, and then when I had COVID, it was the only thing I could wake up and do was play it, so I played it on my 3DS, and it was awesome. I love this game. I love this game so much. I love little guys. I just love little dudes. And in a game full of little dudes, I gotta talk about it. So, right, yeah. So I had taken a break from writing for ZU for a while. I had another kid, all this other stuff, life and things. And so this is like my second article back. And I started off with, in Link's Awakening, I wrote an article on Mabe Village, which is, Link's Awakening is my favorite game. And Minish Cap is a close second for me. So it was good to be able to write about something that I truly love. It's such a great game. It's got so many great environments and so many great characters and just things to do. I love the kinstone fusing and all that, and then being able to dig deep into just a small area in these games is just so much fun. Just learning all the random lore, the trivia, kind of doing your own little bit with it as well. It's a lot of fun. And Melari's Mines has always been a fun little place to think about. It
is little.
It is a very little, tiny little place, and even within that, it's only a few rooms. But
yes,
just it's one of those, because you think about, and I don't really bring this up in the article. It just kind of how necessary would a blacksmith be for these little guys? Genuinely.
It's a very good question. They spend their time as blacksmiths and miners. I can only imagine how annoying it would be to try and bring your wares to Hyrule Castle Town or Minish Woods. Because that's a distance for them.
God forbid you have to go to the water, drop by Lake Hylia. But gotta check with the guys upstairs in the sky. They might need something too.
Look, somebody has to keep up the ancient skills and arts.
For sure.
Which is always really cool. I love it. We always have the fantasy trope of this ancient civilization used to be super amazing, and yet for some reason we've lost all the stuff that they had. Don't ask me how, but it's gone. I think it's a lot cooler when you think it's gone, but wait, there's this one dude who still knows.
This little guy over here, he can fix up a sword like the best of them. One thing I love about Minish Cap especially is that it doesn't matter. The size differences and everything like that, it truly doesn't end up mattering, because Melari's mine is also where they find kinstones. So they mine iron, they mine kinstones, and the Minish are minuscule, right? That's where part of the name comes from.
No way.
I know, right? It's crazy. And so just the idea that these tiny little guys are mining kinstones and hiding them out in the area. They would need 50 of them to carry one. And then just to drop it in Trilby Highlands or something, just randomly. I just love that idea to where it's it truly doesn't matter. The size difference between the two, it's a silly plot device. It's fun. They exist in the world. These things happen. They're hanging out, man. I just love little guys. I know I've said this a lot. I just love little guys. I love the idea of little guys running around, doing kind of impish things, I just love it. I just love it.
So if they are mining kinstones, can they just sell me all the kinstones that I need instead of me trying to rely on the RNGesus to give me what I need. At this point, Minish Cap is the only game in the franchise that I've yet to 100% because of those kinstones.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It is tricky.
Yeah.
Gotta have some luck on your side.
Truly. And I love that. I love that about it. And you know what? That one kinstone you're missing, it's not even a piece of heart. It's 200 rupees. That's all it is. You know? But you're never going to get that 100%.
I've done all of the mysterious shell collecting. I got all the figures. It's the kinstones.
It's the kinstones.
It's the freaking kinstones. I hate it.
So, as a big fan of little guys in general, I also like the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, you know, kind of connection with that.
Yeah, I was wondering how much you were joking about that.
A little bit of both. So in the article, I do talk about, you know, obviously it's a reference, you know, he has 7 apprentices. Obviously it's a Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs reference, you know, like, oh, it's another little guy. We're going to reference the other little guy, and they mine. Like, that's what they do in the Seven Dwarfs as well. They're miners, you know, they sing songs. That's what they do in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And as I had mentioned in the article, I think it borders on a bit of copyright infringement, you know, and we know that. Just hold on a second here. On one side, we've got Nintendo, famously litigious. You even think about making a fan game, you're done. On the other side, you've got Disney, famously litigious. Imagine the court case if this would ever go. One for the ages. Be crazy, you know?
I could say that they could join up, but they already did that with Square, so that's kind of already.
I'm just saying, you know.
Fair enough.
It's a little sus, but yeah, obviously, jokes aside, there. I know I keep saying this, but it shows how universal and well beloved the little guy trope is. Truly, just these little creatures that they're pure of heart. Only the best of us can find them and see them and be with them. And, you know, they're performing essential services for the community, like forging a blade that will destroy evil or fixing the guy's shoes. Yet another famous little guy that gets referenced in the Minish Cap. Chock full of little guys here. And it's great.
You know what bugs me? Melari doesn't have any official artwork.
Oh.
I'm looking at this right now. We just have the sprite of Melari himself, this super buff Minish guy, and we don't have any official artwork of him, and it makes me sad.
He's a Maxish, is what he is. He is not a Minish. He's a
Maxish.
But I mean that would be interesting, because also if you look at him, like, his face does look different from the other ones.
Yeah.
Like, and I keep thinking that maybe
it looks like he has a beak.
A beak, yes. And you don't see that because the Minish just look like, say it with me, little guys. You know,
he's just a little guy.
They're just little guys. But this one, he's a little bird guy.
I guess, sure. That's why I want official work. I got to see how he looks compared to his apprentices. The apprentices, I get what they're looking like, because I can take the official Minish artwork and then just put the cool tribal-looking outfits on and the goggles. But Melari, I don't know.
Yeah. But dang it, he's good at his job. He'll get that blade shining. But no, it was fun. It was a fun little thing to write, you know, and with my articles, I like to do there at the end of this one something just a little silly to just have a little fun with it. But and I like focusing on these really small areas that, like, I just wrote one yesterday about the Seashell Mansion in Link's Awakening. Literally a room, but there's so much to talk about with it, and just all these these fun little bits that you can really focus in on and, you know, appreciate the small details that the designers put into the game. Like in Melari's mind, for example, the beds.
That is my favorite room. I love the fact that they bothered to put in a bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
That is some practicality that you don't usually get in these kinds of games, especially the smaller games, because there's usually like not enough space to put that in.
I'm telling you, Minish Cap, it's a great game. The little details like that, details, really kind of sell it as a great entry in the series. And it was a great GBA game. It was a great GBA game, okay? That's why I love it so much. I have a complete bias because I played it so much as a kid.
We're all biased. These are all games we love.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much, Zach, for
course.
pointing out this quadrant of Tingle's maps. And we shall now turn our attention to the feature of the month, which is unique this time around because it is a collaborative effort. Jeff, you are the listed writer, as it were, of the articles as a whole. That is primarily because you are our features editor, and you were the one in charge of bringing us together and putting this... I keep saying effort. I want to use different words. But putting this whole thing together.
Project? Yeah.
Project works.
Not sure. Yeah.
That'll work.
But
yeah.
To me, it was about as good a way for us to celebrate the 40th anniversary as there could be. This was probably the most fun piece I've ever worked on. All of us from the Zelda Universe staff coming together to determine what we thought were the 40 greatest moments across the entire series. So much fun to like come up with my own personal list, but then once we all started coming together and debating which ones we were gonna pick out of the gigantic pile of moments that we had created as like a ballot, and then determining the ranking, this was just an absolute blast to work on from start to finish.
So we could go through the entire list of 40, but if we did that, we would be here for the next 5 hours, and I would love to do that, but probably not the most practical way that we want to do this. So I want to talk a little bit more about how we got here and basically get into some of the details of how everything came together. Maybe talk about a few highlights at the end. So, Jeff, it is titled as greatest, but if I recall correctly, that is not the word we started off with.
There was a debate about, what word we were going to use. There was one suggestion of the most legendary moments, the most memorable moments, the most epic moments, I think someone else threw into there. We ultimately just decided on greatest. Memorable, greatest, legendary. They're all just words to describe the moments that really stuck with us and what we felt left the biggest impression upon the fans and the series in general.
When we started this, the word that was initially used was memorable, and that's the word that I took when constructing my list. So the way we did it is there were 7 of us?
Yes.
Yeah, so there are 7 of us, and all of us independently put together our own list of 40 moments. And everybody was left to their own devices, and so it was left to all of us to decide what filled that description, what was memorable to us. So this is, as with all countdowns, an extremely subjective list. And, well, let's talk about the subjectivity. How did you approach your list?
Real quick before that, what I did think was really interesting was that when we all came together then and put our ballots together, I believe we had 120 moments, 120 unique moments that we eventually had to pick from then, which also just kind of shows off everybody takes something a little bit different from the series. Obviously some moments were unanimously agreed upon, but then there were others that maybe only got 1 or 2 votes. and they could have been very high up on some other people's lists, whereas with others didn't appear on their ballots at all. So it definitely showed how, across these more than 20 different games and 40 years, different parts of the series mean more to certain fans than others. But you really got to see all kinds of different perspectives just between the 7 of us who contributed to this. For me, I try to include as many games as possible, just to, even if it was just like one vote, just because each and every game does contribute something meaningful to the series. I wasn't able to get every single last game on my personal ballot, but I did get for me, what I thought was a very good variety on there. And personally, I tried to add in moments that I thought were not just important to the game themselves, but were also important to the series at large. Moments that would have had impact on other games and other lore across the series.
I took a very direct approach. I thought of memory, and I thought, what hits my mind first? So based on the number of games that we had, I could be pretty confident in about 2 memories per game. So I looked at the first game, Legend of Zelda. What immediately comes to mind when I think of the first game? I think of, it's dangerous to go alone, take this, and it's a secret to everybody. First 2 things immediately jumped into my head. I said, okay, those are the things that are going on my list. Let's go to the next game. And so continued that for every single game in the franchise. And then I had to be a little bit more judicious in how I wanted to split things up. So for example, there were some games where I had to think really hard to come up with a single memorable moment, which is really hard when we talk about all the things we love about Zelda, and we'll get into the things that we missed a little bit later on. But sometimes it's just the collection of the game itself, even if there isn't any particular standout moments. And so I'm thinking really hard. All right, I've thought of one, but I can only think of one here. All right, that means if I get into a game that I absolutely adore, and I can think of moment, I can think of 5 off the top of my head, then I have an extra space that I can give to that one. So I'm not bashing my head against a wall trying to find specific moments that were not there.
That was my issue with the Oracles. Those are 2 of my favorite 2D Zeldas. However, I could not for the life of me justify a moment from either of those games getting on here where, like you just alluded to, I can think of 5 or 6 from Ocarina of Time just off the top of my head that I think are landmark moments in the series.
I think that was just reading through the article. We were talking a little bit before this too. Was the lack of 2D moments, which there are several in there, which and they're very good choices and excellent. I mean, like this is a phenomenal list. Like somebody who is not involved in it whatsoever. I mean, it's like going through all of it. It's like, oh yeah, and being able to like things I had forgotten about. So like number 40, the health bar, Ganondorf's health bar going up. I'm like, oh my god, yes, I remember seeing that and going, that's awesome. Like, it's a little subtle thing, but the 2D underrepresentation, I think, is just a personal thing for me. Like, we've alluded to my Minish Cap favoritism, and I'm replaying the Oracles right now, actually, and those were other games that I also loved. And it's like, well, why wasn't that on there? What are you talking about? What do you mean that going into the Maku tree and talking to Ferror isn't one of the greatest moments? It's like, obviously it's not. It doesn't define what the series is. Whereas these moments are like landmark moments, quote unquote, I guess was what I think somebody had said earlier. Things that represent what the series is. And it's a lot harder to do that with a lot of 2D games. It's your 3D Zeldas and those games, they have bigger moments. They're more exciting. Obviously, it makes a lasting impact, and that's what makes the series great.
We had a panel at PAX West a couple of years ago about, basically we pitted, quote unquote, 2D Zelda versus 3D Zelda. And of course, the more popular choice was the 3D Zelda games. In a word, they are much more cinematic.
Mm-hmm.
They can milk all of the cutscenes and all and the 3D effects and the greater capacity for music and all these things to make it for a more impactful, dramatic set of moments. And so you remember those pieces of drama. While the 2D games, they are much more of a gaming experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of the moments there that you're going to remember aren't necessarily the big story moments, which is usually the kinds of things that come to mind when you are creating lists like this. However, I just finished replaying The Adventure of Link just yesterday, and the primary standout moments in that game are gameplay moments in particular. There is a false floor that you need to be able to jump across in order to make progress in the second to last dungeon. And oh my gosh, again and again and again and again. It's just these moments. Oh my gosh, help me.
Uh-huh. Yep. I think the number one Zelda moment should have been the frustration of playing The Adventure of Link, is truly what it would be. But
What are you talking about? The first one should have obviously been the CDIs,
that's, I mean,
which we do have on the list because, of course.
you all said there were flaws in it, and I think that was the biggest flaw, was that it was ranked so low as being so important. I do, as a listener, as a reader of Zelda Universe and the podcast, I would love to hear you two. What were your personal number one moments?
So I was fortunate in that respect. My number one moment that I voted on ended up being our number one moment, which was Link draws the Master Sword and travels 7 years into the future in Ocarina of Time.
That's such a great moment. I mean, it's iconic. It, I think, defined what could be done in these games for a very long time. And also, I mean, it's the 3D Zelda game. It's and as much as I'm not an Ocarina of Time fan, oh no, I can recognize that is such an, same with the pulling the Master Sword in A Link to the Past. These things are so important to what the series is. But Connor, what do you got? What was your number one?
For context, I had Ocarina of Time Master Sword as my number 7. Pulled up my list. My number 1 is the Master Sword from A Link to the Past. Because it is just like with any Master Sword drawing moment, this is the stand of the hero, which is the Link moment. Just standing there, sword raised. This is the legendary blade. I'm ready to go. The reason why I had this one as number 1 and not Ocarina of Time is because of the buildup that leads to the moment is so much better in A Link to the Past than it is in Ocarina of Time. Because the entirety of that first section of the game is centered on the Master Sword. This is what you're supposed to get. This is the Blade of Evil's Bane. This is the thing that you need in order to truly win the day. And then you go through the Lost Woods, and the environment is so ethereal and mystical. There's an inscription on the pedestal that gives you the fulfillment of all the prophecies that you have heard as you've traveled. And then you draw the sword, and the fanfare that's around it is so great. Ocarina of Times is a lot more of a, okay, this is a thing that you technically only really know about if you played A Link to the Past. Because it's that legendary blade. What do you mean, that legendary blade? The impact of Link drawing the sword in Ocarina of Time is the shock of, wait, Ganondorf? Wait, what? I'm what? So it's kind of where your thought of memorable is as to which you prefer on that end.
Obviously, the Master Sword is such a pivotal item in the series because it accounts for 3 different moments on our list. Number 1 being when you pull it in Ocarina of Time, number 6 being when you draw it in A Link to the Past, and then we have it at number 18 when the sword fails against Ganondorf in the Wind Waker. That whole cutscene.
I would argue there's a 4th. and that is Phi's farewell.
Yes, that is actually a great argument, and that is exactly what I alluded to when I wrote up my paragraph for that, and why I fought so hard to get Phi's farewell on this list.
Here's what we did for the formation of the list. Okay, so we had an awesome spreadsheet thing where everybody got to list out their moments, and then we got to put in our votes for said moments. We all had 40 votes, so if you wanted to, or if you're like the first person on to fill out your thing, 40 votes, 40 items, you're good to go. Then as people started to bring in their other things, people would add in their votes. Sometimes someone would say something that, oh, I forgot about that one. That's actually a lot better than what I came up with. And so you'd put that one in. And so everybody tabulated what they did, and based on the number of votes that you got, that determined their pecking order. So Ocarina of Time Master Sword got the top spot because I think it was the only one where everybody listed it as a top 40 moment.
Yeah, it was the only unanimous moment.
And so then from there, it was, okay, who got 6 votes, who got 5 votes, etc. And we kept going until we got to 40 votes, which actually ended up being almost exactly 40, which was a wonderful quirk of mathematic processing. Phi's farewell is the one exception to that process. Jeff technically pulled a editor moment, which had my full backing.
I flexed my creative liberty. I pulled out my creative control card on that one.
Look, my name's going on the article. I'm doing it.
I mean, that was my logic. Yes, that was my line of thinking for it.
Which one did we take out?
I believe it would have been the player's first encounter with Gloom Hands in
Oh, that's right, yes.
Tears of the Kingdom.
You're right.
And that was the other thing too, like when I was putting together my list in particular, I was trying to avoid very broad like sequences. So like I did not want to have entire dungeons on this list. I didn't want to have like lengthy, huge set pieces. Like I wanted very defined, specific moments. We had some exceptions where we kind of combined very lengthy cutscenes together. But like, and then like in a case like with Gloom Hands, some people may have played Tears of the Kingdom and never encountered one. That's extremely unlikely, but it is possible. So like that was just a very general, broad one that I would much rather have Phi's farewell in there than that.
I totally understand the wanting to make them isolated moments. So, for example, you'll notice there are no dungeons in this list because a dungeon is a whole lot of stuff happening together. Plus, dungeons kind of deserve their own list if you really think about it.
Like we did back in 2020.
There you go. And that, for me, it kind of explains a little bit why we had Ganon in Ocarina of Time and escaping Ganon's castle as 2 separate moments, even though they bleed right into each other. On my list, I technically had Ganondorf all the way to the end, just because that whole sequence just melds into each other from start to finish.
Yeah, you're trying to put an hour-long sequence into there.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to cede the point there. It's kind of funny because I listed on here some of my surprises as to like, this got on here. That's interesting. All the ones that I have are Ocarina of Time moments.
I don't know if I really had any like true surprises, just because like I don't really feel like any entry on here is undeserving, except maybe the CDI nonsense one. But listen, I understand why people still appreciate the CDI games. But the only one that I would say is maybe surprising, and it's more so just because I completely forgot about it, but it is definitely deserving to be on here, is Link getting catapulted into the Forsaken Fortress of the Wind Waker. That is such a funny moment that really does define like the character of the Wind Waker itself.
I had chosen the Tower of the Gods Rising instead of the catapult, but the two of them basically serve the exact same purpose, so I wasn't going to quibble too much about that.
Like when you're talking about like memorable moments, like what are the memorable moments from a game? What moments do you think about when you think about a certain game? That screenshot of Link's eyes bugging out as he's flying midair and like, yeah. How do you not remember that immediately when you think of the Wind Waker? It's such an iconic visual from that game.
What did I have from the Wind Waker on here?
Interestingly, the Wind Waker led the way with 6 different entries on the list, even ahead of the likes of Ocarina of Time, A Link to the Past, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, I had the Tower of Gods, and I had Ganondorf's monologue.
Oh, Ganondorf's monologue is so good. That whole final battle is so good.
So hard.
So that was another one where we split up. We ended up having, Ganondorf's monologue and Daphnis Makes a Wish upon the Triforce as its own entry at number 26. I also think we got a really, really good variety of like types of moments. We have obviously plenty of cutscenes on here, but we do have a couple of boss battles. We have a couple of humorous moments, like getting catapulted into the Forsaken Fortress, the CDI nonsense, Zelda's reaction to becoming a spirit in Spirit Tracks.
Yes. I was so happy to see Spirit Tracks on there. That's such a great moment. My personal Spirit Tracks moment would have been the first time you get on the train and you hear the overworld music.
Best overworld music in the entire franchise. No contest.
Some of the best music in general in the franchise, and I will die on this hill. But no, I mean, and that also shows how, like, again, the moments that define the series, the game, like that kind of stuff where you're kind of in that Wind Waker line where you still have that kind of goofy silliness mixed in with like something crazy is happening right now, with Zelda becoming a ghost, a dang old ghost.
She dies. Zelda dies.
I was really glad to see all the Wind Waker representation. It solidifies my opinion, the correct one, that Wind Waker is the best 3D Zelda game.
I will disagree with you.
I really hate to tell you that you're wrong, though.
Look, people, everyone tells me that I'm wrong because Skyward Sword is mine, so...
Oh, well, I can't be mad about that.
Well, there you go. See? What's the problem?
But the one boss battle that was non-final battle was the Stalwart one. And
Coloctos was also...
Oh, and Coloctos, yep. And those two are so unique because they're, like, when you think about, like, dungeon item boss battles, right? Those are the two that really come to mind. And they stick out because they're so unique. They're so interesting and fun and challenging, and like I said with earlier, Twilight Princess I played once a long time ago, and I remembered that. Like that's if I think about the weird birds, and I think about the Stalwart battle. Those are like my two favorite moments. Oh, and the Yeti, the freaky Yeti lady. I like that part too.
Yeah, Yeto and Yetta.
Yep.
Yeto and Yetta are the best.
They are.
That is a romance.
True. We're bringing it back, but and that's what I loved about reading through all these too, was remembering these like moments that I had forgotten about. Like as much as I love Wind Waker, him being shot from the cannon. Oh man, how could I forget that? That's amazing, or shot off in the barrel. But it's such a great encapsulation of what the flipping the Stone Tower Temple. I forgot that even happened in Majora's Mask. Like, I don't know how, but I forgot. I'm like, oh wow, that was a really cool moment. It shows that Zelda as a series is willing to literally flip our ideas upside down on what we can do in exploring dungeons and the adventure part of adventure games. And it's just such a great list. You all did such a good job.
The flipping of the Stone Tower Temple is an interesting entry because, like, that's a pure gameplay moment. Like, there's obviously a cutscene related to it, but, like, it doesn't necessarily have, like, a narrative
centerpiece, I guess is what I'm trying to describe. It's just that's a pure gameplay moment that then leads into what you do throughout the rest of the dungeon. That's just, like I said, a great example of the variety you saw here on our list. We've got pure cutscenes, we've got boss battles, but then we've got something there that's literally a gameplay mechanic, although it's one that is so integral to the dungeon.
I do want to make sure we acknowledge the games that we were unable to feature on the list. And I count 6 that we were not able to put on.
Link's crossbow training.
Ooh, I forgot about Link's crossbow training. Okay, that's 7.
Tingle Rosy Red Rupee Land.
No, the Tingle games don't exist. Get out of here.
Triforce Heroes.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about Triforce Heroes.
Everybody always forgets Triforce Heroes.
And that's fine. That's okay.
So, I have the Oracle games, Ages and Seasons, which you've already pointed out is much more of a composite situation and less of a moment-to-moment kind of deal. Minish Cap is unfortunately also on the chopping block.
I know. I was very mad about that. I will say, it took me several hours to calm down before recording, before we could talk about this. So
my pick that I know I had for Minish Cap was the first time you shrink down.
Right.
Because that defines the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're just like, oh, look, I'm so little.
You're a little guy now.
Oh, no. Oh, and then the other one was the green shoe battle.
The green shoe battle. That was what I was going to say.
That's the fight that you think of when you think of that game.
Mm-hmm. Except for the Vadi fight, which I still only do one time anytime I play through. I just, like, when you do the 100% and then you're like, oh, I finally got all that stuff, I'm going to go finish the battle again. Nope. Yeah. Just going to do the one. I die 100 times each time I play it.
Oh, darn. And then, I forgot about the Force. Man, there's a lot of games we missed. The Four Swords games. Now, the original Four Sword is much more of a tech demo than an actual game, so it's kind of along the same lines as Link's crossbow training. Mm-hmm. It's, here's all this cool stuff that you can do with this kind of system. It's just there's so much money involved in actually making the game work. And
Four Swords Adventures it's such an underrated
Four Swords Adventures
gem,
is great.
It's such a great game. For that, I mean, the final Ganon battle is just so good in that. Okay, here it is. The most random gameplay moment for me in that game that I think about it every time that I talk about Four Swords Adventures is when you light one of the bushes on fire, the rest of them burn.
That's so fun.
And it's nothing. I would never go on this list. But like if you tell me something, what's the one thing you remember about Four Swords Adventures? Oh, that's it. When you use the fire rod and you burn everything down. Like maybe that says more about me than,
Maybe you just like to burn things as long as you're not committing crimes.
Right.
And then we don't have any moments from any of the Hyrule Warriors games.
I was going to ask you about that. I was going to ask how you feel about that. As the resident 100%er.
Me who has 100%ed all 3 of them, including the marathon that was the original Hyrule Warriors. When it came to... Because I did make moments for all of them. When it came to the Hyrule Warriors games, I was only able to come up with one for each of them. For the original Hyrule Warriors, I kind of cheesed it, and I said the character entry animations. Because every single one of them is so cool at introducing the character, the personality, the kind of weapon that they use. It's so fun. You just get introduced to every single one of them. It's great.
Yeah, I would have supported that.
Age of Calamity, I picked when Zelda's power awakens, which it's the obvious corollary to the moment that you have it in Breath of the Wild, but it's a lot more of a dramatic moment, and you feel like it's being built up to all the way up until that moment, which just makes it really, really good. And then for Age of Imprisonment, it's the final boss battle, because of course it is. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's still kind of spoilerish territory. But first off, Calamo is best boy, and I will fight you on that. And having him be a part of everything that happens at the end, it goes through several stages, and it's so good. It's just an awesome battle. But since it's so recent, it's probably a good thing that we didn't have it on there to score. How long's it been? 6 months?
It was November when it released.
November. 4 months. 4.5. So I guess.
Now, if you don't mind,
No.
could I?
I don't.
Sorry. Can I throw a couple out there?
Of course.
Absolutely.
These are personal things for me that are like what define the games to me. So my number one, my absolute favorite Zelda moment is in Link's Awakening when you get your sword.
Ah.
Every time I play that game, I just love it. You push the little the spiny into the path of the sword. You pick it up.
I do that too.
They play the fanfare. The only time you hear that song in the whole game, just that quick little fanfare. You do your spin. You put it up in the air. I love it. It's such the call to adventure is taken. It's truly just a personal choice for me. I would fight for it to be on the list because again, it is in that game a very good moment of we're ready to go. We're going on our adventure. What was chosen for Link's Awakening is perfect. The Windfish. I mean, it's such a great a great moment.
I do have one fact check for you. There is one other time in the game where you do hear the fanfare.
Oh, you do?
Yes, it is when you get to go on a date with Marin.
You're right, because I forgot about him picking her up.
Pick
which
up
is
Marin.
so good. That's so
I have
good.
learned how to pick up chicks. Fanfare.
Literally. Another great moment, which I was surprised did not make the list, and I'm wondering where it was what part of the honorable mentions it was when Groose fell out of the sky.
It was on there.
That was voted upon by some people.
It captures that whimsy, I would say, that the series does well. You've got this bumbling oaf, falls down because he thinks he's the hero of the story, and then Link, the actual hero, looks on in horror as he's about to be squished to death by a falling rooster. It's great. It's great.
I keep forgetting how all of the characters in that game are named after birds.
Yes, they are. And I'm not just now realizing that at this moment. I knew that going in. And everything else that I had was covered. So I didn't really have any other great moments. But those two, I think, were just, for me, big, important moments to me in the series. Just the great parts of the series that really defined it for me personally as a fan. That were not on the list, but...
Well, I've said let's include the list then. And you already said what your number one overall would be. Do you have a top 5, maybe?
Oh boy. Including the stuff on the list?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all Wind Waker stuff. No. I would pick Anju and Cafe, like pretty high on the list, just because it shows what the games do well in terms of side characters, where in a lot of RPG games, you have these side characters that go through these adventures and they have their own lives and storylines, and when Zelda does it well, the series does it so well, and Anju and Cafe is such a great example of not only the character part of it, but also the side questing, without it just being a trading quest. But I think that's a great moment from the series. And the Link saying goodbye to Grandma, that's another just personal thing where it just tugs at my heartstrings every time. Yeah, oh geez, you're really putting me on the spot here.
I had one that I really wanted to make the list, but unfortunately did not get the sufficient votes, and that was Null's introduction in Echoes of Wisdom.
Oh my god.
I think the whole build up to that fight is fantastic because it's such a flip on the script of what is Zelda. Like, Ganon, the ultimate evil and the ultimate bad guy of the series, is just a mid-game boss. Even though the game doesn't really treat it that way, it kind of like the build up to that fight feels like a final boss fight, like the atmosphere and just the gravity of the moment, even though it is obviously just halfway through the game. But then you defeat him, he's gone. The echo of him, I mean, it's not actually Ganon, but you defeat him, he's gone. Then you see the walls crack, the wall shatters, those two long, gangly arms of some mysterious creature, pop out from the gloom.
Freaking freak out.
It is such a great sequence.
I'm gonna start playing Echoes of Wisdom again next week, and I'm so looking forward to it.
Echoes of Wisdom might be my favorite Switch Zelda, even more so than Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
I mean, mine's Link's Awakening, but it is definitely...
It's sitting at number 5 on my all-time list at this point. It leaped up so quickly.
The more time goes by, I think I legitimately enjoyed it more than the 3D ones. Than the big 3D entries.
It's such a good game. It's such a good game. And
that actually makes it my number 1 2D Zelda game.
Oh, for me, yeah, absolutely. Like, I have no question about that anymore.
What I love about it, I have 2 daughters and a son. My oldest daughter is 8, and when Echoes of Wisdom came out, you know, she knows I'm a big Zelda fan, and I've been trying to get her to play it. I'm like, you'd love Link's Awakening, you'd love this, like, it's such a great art style, you'd love it. It's a great game. No interest, none whatsoever. And I'm like, okay, well, Echoes of Wisdom comes out, and I'm playing it, and she's like, wait, you're playing as Zelda in this one? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, I want to play that. And she did. And she loves it. That's why it's one of my favorite games, is because it got my kid into this series. But it also goes to show for representation how important that is, especially in a series that bears her name, which was another. I was so happy to see that at least one entry was Echoes of Wisdom, because it is such an important game in the franchise, despite it being one of the most recent. It's just, and it's good. It's really, really good.
Oh,
good.
Listen, I would have fought tooth and nail to make sure Echoes of Wisdom had at least one moment of representation on this list. Don't worry.
Good.
There was a lot of discussion about how we were going to sort these. We did keep everything in, okay, this got X number of votes, so this block is going to be together in the block. But aside from that, we tried to just separate everything out as, okay, we just talked about Ocarina of Time. We're not going to talk about Ocarina of Time for a little while. Let's put a Majora's Mask in here. Okay, let's throw Breath of the Wild in next because of this. And it was just such a fun discussion, because we ended up just like we're doing right now. Just, oh, remember this? We were doing this part. Oh, yeah, that was so cool, man. I was freaking out about that thing. Oh, that boss was so hard. It was one of the most enjoyable... How long did it take us? 2 hours?
About
2 hours.
It was a very fun Friday night, to say the least.
It was a super fun Friday night. And speaking as somebody who grew up as I guess you could call it a typical nerd, quote unquote, just the fact that I was not socially adept. I did not have people around me to discuss Zelda or anything else I was interested in. Like, at all, except for a couple friends that I really only talked about it occasionally. And so that's what I love so much about doing this podcast, about the night that we had, and all of these opportunities to share in something that we just adore as a collective. A marvelous series that invites us to adventure, to challenge ourselves, to dream, to all of these things. And thank you so much to the both of you and to everybody at Zelda Universe and elsewhere for providing a place and an environment for us to share in this thing that we love. Everyone, thank you all so much for joining us this month for the Zelda Universe Podcast. We do this once a month. You always get at the Zelda Universe website, zeldauniverse.net, as well as where you get all of your excellent podcasts. I hope that we are one of them. Jeff, Zach, thanks to the both of you for joining me here today.
Absolutely. It's a blast.
Thank you for having us.
And thanks to all of you for listening, and we will see you next month on the Zelda Universe Podcast.